as a Silkin client, how long have you been working with Silkin?
I have been working with Silkin just over a year.
Okay, and just give us a sense of what situation were you in, or in the middle of, or the challenge was there that brought you towards Silkin or led you that way, and what was that?
So let me give you a little background. When I
Okay.
started working at this practice, it was part-time. I still had fairly young kids, and the doctor who owned the practice had always been by himself, liked things the way they were, didn't want to expand, didn't want to grow, but had never really had time off or done anything. So this was a way for him to get a little bit of time and to let me fill in. So I went ahead and did that. And then about 8 or 9 years into the practice, he got sick. So we started talking about me starting to buy in, maybe looking into what was going to happen with that. And unfortunately, he passed away very quickly after that.
Oh my. Okay.
So his wife sat down with me and said, hey, we kind of drew out the plans. You willing to just jump into this right away and just buy the whole practice rather than spending time with it? So I said, yeah, let's just go ahead and do it. It's a very family type of practice. I laugh when we say it's kind of like, I feel like I'm out in the country and just want to hang out my shingle. I'm in Houston, so a lot of the practices around me are multi-doctor practices, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 doctor practices. And
Wow.
Here it's just me. And the clients that I have like that, we have, thank goodness, I've had very little staff turnover. So they know the people when they come in. My staff recognizes them. A lot of us live in the area, so we see the clients in the grocery store or at the gym. Can be good or bad.
Yeah.
But, so it's a very quiet, calm place. They know exactly who they're going to see when they come in. It's, a small practice, so there's not going to be a bunch of people sitting in the waiting room. There's not going to be a really long wait time because we're not having to juggle things. So that's kind of how I got to be. And I had the practice for about 8 years and was just going along. Had no business in this at all. I didn't know anything about business. I was lucky to, figure out QuickBooks and make payroll every week.
Oh yeah.
And then lately started thinking about potentially getting ready to retire and started looking into some options and just realized that I was just basically making payroll every month and not really doing much with it and didn't really know anything about the business. And a former employee, I guess, I don't know how she got hold of Silkin, but she gave them my name and they called. And I thought, okay, what the heck, let's give this a try and see what they can come up with. And, as we started talking and getting into it and realizing what the potential was and what I could do to move forward to make this a practice that I could turn around and sell, really got me hooked.
That's awesome. And I mean, there's so many doctors that are probably looking to that in the near future or right where you are.
Yeah.
And so now that you've been working with Silkin, what would you say is some of the things that you've learned or that you've implemented, systems wise maybe, or just business that is assisted you to getting where you want to go?
The first thing we realized, and my consultant is great at reminding me that I don't know what I don't know.
And who is that again?
She has been, I'm sorry?
And who is your consultant?
Gloria Russo.
Awesome. Yes, Gloria. Okay, good. Gotcha.
So she's really good at reminding, at helping me figure out what I don't know, because like I said, I don't know what I don't know. That's kind of been our big thing. We started from scratch. We did have some things in place. We had an employee handbook. We had a little bit of these things with it. So she looked at those and we tweaked those. But the biggest thing was really, the hatting has really been effective, giving people their roles. And it sounds kind of off because we sort of pigeonhole them a little bit, but that allows them to really be able to do their task and to fulfill it. And then we found the ways to blend those and make it work so that we don't have a bunch of, people in their little holes, but they're kind of like puzzle pieces. They've got their little frame, but there's the little integrations on how it all works. And Silkin was really good with working with us. We had a couple of breakout sessions where they just worked with me and decided, I just had a self-made office manager. Don't you know what an office manager was? I just kind of dumped the stuff that I didn't want to do on her. Like, can you deal with with the ordering of things? And can you deal with some of the sales reps when they come in? But didn't really know what an office manager was. And so the first thing Silkin helped us do was really define those roles that everybody was supposed to do. And then even in our small little practice, we decided we needed to break it out. So we have now a business manager and an office manager, so that they can do their things. And, it sounded really bizarre in the beginning to say, gosh, we're so small, why do we need that? But for us, it really works. There's just so much behind the scenes stuff that's going on that we really needed to have these two people be able to take on their roles.
That's very interesting. And two things on that. One, you said hatting, and just to clarify, make sure everybody understands that, because everybody in the practice has a role to play or a function and they wear a hat, so to speak.
Correct.
The hat, which is really their job, or the
Right.
descriptor of their job. And then when Silkin's working with you, it's a very unique relationship. And I'm trying to just really understand what you're pointing out. Is it's unique in that they're looking at the practice with you and looking at all the systems that you have and designing the system unique to your practice. So maybe not every veterinary practice might not have a business manager and an office manager, but for you that made sense.
And that's what I really liked, is they start with their general concept, and then we look at that and we start pulling in my practice and where does this fit in and how does that go. And again, that to me was the important part, is Gloria really sat and listened to us and said, this sounds like this is what you need, or this is where you're stumbling. How can we get through this? What do we need to do to get over this stumbling block? And it's not a one size fits all. I mean, we stay within the confines of Silkin and what they do of having a manager, but how we ended up pulling it out and making two different jobs out of it fit what we needed to do. And that really impressed me, the fact that it wasn't just going to be, well, you have to make your office manager is going to have to do this, and this is all that we can do. It was, you need someone to run this part of your practice, and if it's too much for one person or it doesn't work for one person, let's split it into do other things. So I really appreciated that. And you mentioned the hatting. One of the things that I want to mention is going over their roles with the rest of the staff, looking at the way Silkin defines things and giving the staff what their product was, something I'd never heard of before, making them realize how important they really are and what they really bring to the practice, as opposed to just, I just stand here, I bring up the vaccines, I hold them when you're doing stuff with it, but making them really realize how that integrates into what this practice is and what it means for everybody, really perked them up and really brought everybody involved into what this was. And it wasn't just me sitting there cracking the whip saying, well, we're all going to work harder and do this. It really invested them in what was going on.
That's so great. And how is that lesson stress or worries or whatever? How would you word it for yourself? As the owner and also the doctor.
As we've gotten into it, in the beginning, it's a disaster. When you're picking this thing apart, it's, like Gloria tells us, when you're cleaning out the garage, all you do is throw stuff everywhere. Then you turn around and you look behind you and you're like, oh my God, what's all this stuff and what am I going to do with it? But then that enables you to take each little piece and figure out what to do with it. Do I keep it? Do I get rid of it? Do I need to reformat it? What do I need to do with it? And once we got into that and things started smoothing out, it just made things work so much smoother. Everybody just, the cogs fit. Instead of, having a piece missing here and there and it going along and going chink, 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 clunk, chink, 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 clunk, we just had this nice, smooth little thing going around. Everybody knew what they were supposed to do. They felt like they were part of everything. And it just made things a lot smoother.
That's awesome. And have you now, and I know it's just been a year, but have we seen changes in statistics or changes in staff morale, or what things have you seen that have been changes?
Everything. The clinic has grown immensely, which it hadn't at all really before this. I mean, we kind of, had our little yearly raises to keep up with, society and inflation and whatever. But since we implemented this, we have gone off the scale to the point that we were really, really struggling because we didn't have enough staff to handle, how big the practice grew. And but again, everybody knowing what we were looking for and what we were trying to get to, they didn't fall apart at that. They picked up the pieces. They kept working towards it. We talked about, what do we want to do? What do you, ask the staff, what do you need? You guys are the ones that are struggling. You've got all this overload back here. What are you looking for to help you work better? And they were able to think through it. And we were able to, figure out what we needed to do to make things go back to working a little bit smoother. How do we pick up this extra slack and, all the craziness that's happened since COVID?
Wow, that's so great on the growth. And for you personally, related to your original thoughts about retirement and this type of thing, how has that been for you now looking forward into the future?
I can see it happening a lot easier now. I know I've still got a ways to go, but I'm not just standing out there scanning the horizon going, well, it's, retirement's floating out there someplace. And when it gets here, I'm just going to do it, because honestly, the single doctor practices in this area aren't going anywhere. When these older doctors retire, they just shut down and walk away, and that's it. There's no turnover. There's nobody buying them. There's nothing like that. And with, sounds a little altruistic, but I've said that I'm really concerned about my clients and my staff. I don't want to just shut the doors when I'm done here. My, staff deserves to have a job and to be able to continue doing what they love to do. And my clients, again, have picked this small practice because that's the type of a place that they want. And so I want to make sure that they still have that available, and that they're not forced into something that they're not happy with simply because, I wasn't able to sell the practice or do something with it.
Yeah, I totally makes sense. So this has been great to spend some time with you and just to hear about what you are up to there, and how what Silkin's doing with you has really supported your practice. Is there anything else, some final words you want to share with anybody that is looking for a business consultant group such as Silkin or Silkin themselves?
Honestly, I have to say I was really pretty skeptical when I first started talking and had my first couple of, free little seminars and doing this, thinking this is just going to be a scam. They're just, they're in here, they're the management thing. I'm going to pay them lots of money, and I'm going to end up hearing the same old thing that I can get, off of any website or anything like that. But the personalization really makes a difference. And like I said, I'll just give her another shout out. Gloria has been phenomenal. I don't know how they managed to pair us with her, but it was absolutely perfect. She gets our sense of humor. She gets when we're frustrated. She understands how to prod us when we're, kind of slacking off a little bit, how to get us motivated again to move on to the next level. So it really is, I think Silkin offers, a fit for everybody. They have all the seminars and workshops have been online the past year and a half that we've been working with them, which has actually worked. It's been okay. And they're a lot of fun. It amazed me how, because they deal with medical professionals only, how sitting in this room with dentists and chiropractors and orthodontists and these other things, and yet we all still have the same issues. Yeah. And when we have little breakout sessions and we're talking about staffing and clients and things like that, it's pretty much the same thing, which you wouldn't have if you had some other type of a business practice in here. They wouldn't have the same thing. Right. So it's really helpful to have those workshops and being able to chat with some of the other people. Sometimes you get good ideas, and sometimes you just commiserate, which is okay too.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for spending this time with us today. And,
you're very welcome.
Good. Thank you. Well, great.